everybody, and welcome back once again to Let's Play Sorcery. In the last session we ended up in a sewer by climbing down a well, and well, we got washed up into the river and fished out, and we find ourselves now captive here on a boat. Your eyes open, captured again. Last time it was the Elvins, and this time, well, where are you? You sit up and lift your hand to rub the back of your head. There is a lump there, the size of an egg. You were hit by something. The ground below you is rocking softly. Perhaps that's why you feel nauseous and sick. You hear a loud grumbling which doesn't appear to be coming from your own mouth. You look around. You are at the bottom of a wooden pit with a hatch far up in the ceiling. Other bodies are sprawled around on the floor. You are a prisoner. At least you still have your pack and your sword, but then you realise half of your gold has gone missing. It's lucky that you were keeping multiple pouches and you have not lost everything. The wooden walls either side creak and groan. You are definitely in the hull of a boat. Yeah, I remember that. We were elated to find some gold in the sewers, and now most of the, well, I think we got 3 gold pieces. Now we're left with 1. Our health isn't looking too marvellous. We were on 9 stamina. Just before the session started, I drunk a blimberry potion. Let's see what spells we can cast. Although I don't think anything we cast right now is gonna be of any use to us. So we could do a little bit of is it how? A little bit of how, which will find safe passage. I don't think that's going to be useful. We're stuck on a boat. There's not much we can do with that. There's Dud, which gives an illusion of treasure. Not really useful in this circumstance. Or we've got Rap, talk all languages. Don't think that's going to be very helpful either. Kin, summon a replica creature. Or Kid, create illusions. Right, okay. None of that seems to appeal right in this moment in time, so there's not much we can do. Shouting for a guard I don't think is going to be much use to us other than causing trouble, so we shall wait and see what happens. You draw your heels up and wait. Confident an opportunity to escape will appear. Then, as though on demand, the hatch above is opened. Something blocks the light for a few moments, and then the light returns, bathing the edges of a wicker cage which the crew are lowering down on a rope. The other prisoners react immediately, but in different ways. Some begin to scramble away, trying to get as far from the cage as possible, while others wait underneath impatiently and begin jumping to try and climb their way out. "A little present from Vic," calls one of the guards with a laugh. It's not going to be good, is it? Now we know who Vic is. He's one of the... We've heard his name before. Isn't he like the leader of the gang around here? We're going to wait and see what's going on. The cage swings lower and lower, and you begin to see it is moving. There is something inside. Suddenly, a fanged jaw appears between the wicker bars, and the other prisoners jump back in alarm. The thing inside the cage snarls and roars. A wolf of some kind? The rope goes slack as the cage hits the deck, and as it does so, the cage falls open. We could scurry back and we could pray for aid, or we could take this thing down. I'm thinking that all the other guys down here, all the other prisoners, they're probably not in the best of states to be fighting this thing. If we draw our sword and strike this thing down, I'm thinking we might get some respect from these prisoners, maybe put ourselves forward as some kind of leader. Perhaps we can get them to help us in return. Yeah. We're going to step forward. and play the hero. You draw your sword quickly. Thank the gorilla they left you armed. They must not have bothered to search their prisoners very thoroughly. You push forward to the front of the group as the wolf emerges. Then things start to become clearer. This is not an ordinary wolf at all. This is a werewolf wearing heavy, tight-fitting armour. But there is no full moon. It is not even night time. There is some kind of sorcery at work here. You stand between the wolf and the other prisoners. Behind its flaring fur and snapping jaws, the rope of the cage leads up through the hatch. Escape if you can reach it. Cast a spell. You ready yourself for a spell and the werewolf pounces. You dive aside at the last moment, but your concentration on your magic is lost. The werewolf snaps at you and roars. We try again. You ready yourself for a spell and the werewolf pounces again. You dive aside. The werewolf launches itself for you, teeth bared. Should they cut you, it will be the end. Screw this. You draw your sword and rush at the monster, but it does not engage you. Instead, it darts to one side and rushes down the other end of the boat. It seems it would rather not risk a fight if it can avoid it. The werewolf is lashing out, snapping at the prisoners nearest to it. It catches one on the arm, another on the leg. The creature it bites drop to the floor, howling and writhing as though in terrible agony. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? We could close it. Well, we've obviously scared it. We could climb the rope, but there's going to be guards up there. We've got to deal with this situation now. We've got to deal with the situation now. Close in on the werewolf. You fight your way forward through the scrambling prisoners toward the werewolf at the far end of the boat, determined to finish the monster off. The werewolf's jaws close mere millimetres from your skin. Then it dashes past to perch on the cage and howl. Now we take our chance to cast a spell. This has to be a good one, man. This has to be a good one. Right. Let's see what we can do here. So, huff, create wind. No. I think how again for safe passage? No, it's hot. Cast a fireball. Okay, so that's potential. So fireball. Foff would create a force field. Is it going to be Foff? I hate this flipping thing. Oh, for God's sake! Come on! So fog summons darkness. Foff creates a force field. Don't want to do that. What's W? Walk. No, that's not W, that's F. Walk is a shield with one gold piece. Could be useful in battle. What's that? Jack causes fear. We've never done this before, but you know what? We're going to try it. We're going to try it out. We're going to try it. We're going to... Oh, for God's sake, man. What the flipping hell is wrong with this? You cast the spell, building a fireball in your hands. The other prisoners begin to weep and crawl away to safety, shielding themselves from the heat of the flame. The werewolf turns toward you, red eyes glittering in the sudden light. And... I think, actually, given the option, we're going to fire the fireball at the hull of the boat. Causing a fire whilst we're stuck inside, is that a good idea? I'm thinking of maybe causing a hole in the hull that we can escape through. Let's try it. Then you toss the fireball at the hull behind the werewolf. The tarred wood explodes, igniting immediately, but then the fire is quickly stifled as the river rushes in. The werewolf, kicking its legs in desperation, cannot prevent the weight of its armour from sucking it away into the river, but the rest of you will soon follow. The other prisoners are panicking. Do we want to swim for it again? How many times are we going to end up in this flipping river? Right, let's cast another spell? I think the time for casting spells is over. Let's get the hell out of here. There is nothing else for it. You take a deep breath and jump out of the hole in the side of the boat. For a moment, all is confusion, rising air and thrashing limbs. Then the current is tearing you away downstream, and you are fighting for the surface. You are in the thick sludge of the Jabberjai River. Again. You gasp for breath, almost retching from the terrible smell of sewage and rotting fish and slime. But you quell your nausea. You cannot afford it until you are safely on dry land. You must swim. We can swim up or we can swim down. Okay, so we are going to swim. Which way do we go? This is closest to land, technically speaking. Yeah. You flail and thrash through the thick, gloopy water. You make for the near bank and reach it quickly, hauling yourself out onto the dock. You get a few funny looks from passing creatures, but not as many as you might have expected. Oh, back on the dock. The market traders begin to set up their stalls, fighting and threatening each other to get the spots closest to the ships. A few sly types, probably pickpockets, begin to prowl the shadows between the stands. There are still areas of Lower Kara you have not explored, but you cannot afford to waste more time in these slums. The gate lies on the other side of the city port, and you must cross it without delay. You do not have enough money to buy anything yourself. You ignore the various food stalls and watch the river as you wait. After a while, a grizzled old man arrives and unlocks a small booth by the harbour bridge. He goes inside and closes the door behind him. Oh, seeing as we're waiting patiently, I think we're a bit bored of waiting. Let's just have a knock on the booth, shall we? Impatiently, you go over to the booth and knock firmly on the door. The old man lowers down the window and leans out. "What you want?" Good morning," you begin cheerfully. "Ha!" the man replies. Are you going to lower the bridge?" you ask politely. The man pulls a face, curling down the corners of his mouth. "It's not time yet." "When is time?" you demand. The man leans into his booth to consult something. His head reappears a few moments later. "Tide's got to go down," he says. Okay. You wait another half an hour, enjoying the morning sunlight playing on the river. It feels like the first rest you have had since you left the outpost settlement. It's hard to imagine that, had it not been for the Archmage and the Birdmen, you would never have made this journey, never explored the world outside the Shamutanti wall. You look around the dock. By the base of the bridge you notice a winch-like contraption. Perhaps it lowers the bridge. No, let's not get ourselves into trouble here. You wait a little longer. Suddenly there is a flurry of movement from inside the booth. The old man leaves his booth and goes over to a contraption on the waterfront. He begins to heave and wind an ancient winch. It seems to be quite hard work. He is trying to move the whole weight of the bridge single-handedly. Yes, let's offer a helping hand. You get to your feet and go over to help the man out. "Get off!" he growls. "You'll break it!" Okay, fine. You let the man struggle, happy to let him be stubborn. Sweat beads on his forehead, and he heaves and puffs as he works. But eventually, the bridge clunks down into place. You salute the man cheerfully and get to your feet. Okay, bridge lowered. It's time to cross to the other side, and we have no alternative choice. You cross the bridge over the Jabberjai, which runs like a slime trail through the centre of the city. Drenched you may be, but you have reached the banks of Upper Kare. The buildings here are not as grand as on the south side of the river, but they are in much better condition. Fewer people live on this side, away from the fields and the hills, but those that do are richer. They are most likely to be dangerous. But of course, it is on this side of the city that the North Gate stands. You follow the road away from the river, leaving dripping, wet footprints on the dirt track towards a fork in the road. And okay, so I've been told, and that just confirms it, that actually Lower Carré is actually down here. Now, of course, one of our clues involved Lower Carré. A priest within Lower Carré might have been able to help us find the spell lines to the gate. We are no longer in Lower Carré, though, so that could be an issue. So apparently that werewolf was not a one-off. Werewolves in plate armour stalk the city at night, controlled and owned by a man named Vic. So I think our target, whilst we are on this side of the old river, is going to be Lord... what was he just called? Lord Lorag? In a posh house near Fireview Square and the Red Quarter. I'm thinking it was possibly that. Might not be, could be that, but we're just going to keep our eyes peeled and see if we can stumble across him, because he could have one of the spell lines that we need for the gate. The early morning sun is beginning to wake the streets of Carré. A few creatures roam this way and that. In one corner a spring bubbles with fresh water. Oh yes, certainly drink from the fountain. Ah, lovely, cool, refreshing water. It is fresh and invigorating, as though the water was enchanted. Looking left, the road heads through into a residential area that seems well cared for. A short way off to the right is an open plaza. Let's see if we can ask someone for directions. You stop a passing creature. Excuse me, I need to ask you. The creature's head is bowed and it doesn't look up, but it pulls itself free and hurries away. It is too miserable to speak. There is nothing for it. You will have to explore for yourself. So we can turn left or we can turn right. I think torn here. I'm thinking going towards Fireview Square is where we need to go to find our man. So I'm going to go that way. You turn right, heading away from the city wall. A sign points towards Fireview Square. You pass large houses that have the aspect of official places of business. One is marked with a clawed fist of a moneylender. An elven woman is just leaving. She looks quite worn out already, this early in the morning. You stop the woman with a gesture. She looks up at you in some surprise. What is that building? You ask. The woman looks at you in some surprise, as though she thinks your question must be a joke. "'Tis a moneylender's," she replies. Though why they call themselves that, I don't know. She gulps back a sob. They have turned you down? She looks at you, her eyes narrow. She looks at you, her narrow eyes wide. Oh, stranger, she moans, you have no idea. Will we help her? Yes, why not? One good turn deserves another. I will help you, you declare. She pulls her face. You? Why would you do that? I cannot pay you, as I'm sure you can guess. Perhaps you can help me. You answer. I am new to Carré. Is that so? She replies. And maybe... She wipes a tear from her eye. Maybe you'll need a guide. Yes, that would be very useful. She smiles, the first true smile you have seen on her face. Very good, stranger. I will be happy to help you if I can, for a fee. Where do you want to go? So we need to find a scholar or a blind beggar. A scholar. Called Lorag, you reply. She nods. I do not know him, but I know where he lives. I can take you there. She nods, clearly pleased. And how much do you charge? She sizes you up for a moment. 4 gold pieces. Oh, that's too much. She shrugs. Then I'll find work elsewhere. Oh, man. You shake your head. No, I will find my own way. Very well. May you stand in the first portal trap you see. Wrapping her cloak tightly around herself, she steps to one side and hurries off down the street. You watch her go with some sympathy. Man alive. Being poor sucks. But we have unlocked another clue. Kare is protected by portal traps. How very marvellous. What a dangerous place we are in. The alley gets wider and passing a long building on the left, which seems to be full of children. On the step, a lanky man sits with his eyes firmly closed. Greet him. He does not look up at you. What is this building? You ask. The man does not look at you. His eyes remain closed. Is he asleep? Better leave him be. Declaring I mean, the fact that we're asking what the building is gives the game away that we're new in town anyway. But perhaps we shouldn't be declaring we're a stranger. Don't want him to be taking up, you know, advantage of our lack of knowledge of the area. You follow the road between large houses until it enters a wide square. Odd-looking creatures mill about, going about their business. Several are clustered in a crowd around a monument of some kind. On the other side of the square, the main road continues on through a low arch. 1,000 other alleyways lead off in all directions into Upper Kare. Creatures push and knock into you as they make their way across the plaza. Despite there being plenty of space, none of them seem to be looking where they are going. There is something strange about them in general. Their bodies are spindly, their faces long with downturned mouths. In fact, their eyes all seem to be closed. The arch at the far end of the square is thronged with more creatures, not all the same as those in the square. There seems to be a bustling hub beyond. A market district, perhaps? A peddler with a tray around his neck walks past you in the square. Anklewort, Blimberry, Poultice of Millweed. You cross the square. To stop the herbalist. Good day, he greets you. Can I interest you in a poultice? A salve? What are you selling? Ah, let me show you. He rubs his hands together. For instance, this. He digs around on his tray. A mustic ointment made from pure mustic. How much? A pot of this size. He holds up a container no larger than your thumb. 4 gold pieces. It's very valuable. He unscrews the lid of the pot and sniffs. What does it do? Mustic is a powerful hypnotic, he replies. It can make you believe almost anything. He holds it out for you to smell. Nah, I think I'll pass. You lean away, careful not to inhale from the salve. He smiles and takes a deep breath himself, sighing happily. No thank you, I can't afford it. What else do you have? A blimberry salve, the man replies. Made from finest blimberries. How much? 3 gold pieces? Too much. Herbalist nods and looks through his stock, picking out another bottle. How about this? Essence of bark. Good for sore throats. 2 gold pieces? No thank you. The herbalist shrugs. Then you're my worst customer ever. Have a good day. He walks away across the square. A man pushes a wheeled cart of fruit and sets up a stall. We can't afford a damn thing. I didn't mean to click on that. Oh no. I didn't mean to click on that. Bugger. Right. Tuft cookies. We'll have to live with it. In fact, we don't really, do we? We could go back. Do you know what? I didn't mean to click on that, so we'll do exactly the same again. We could ask for advice, but we didn't ask the advice, so... don't want that. Not for everyone. What else do you have? Bimberry. How much? Too much. Sore throats? No thanks. Right, okay. We wanted to visit the fruit vendor. You walk over to the fruit vendor. Morning, he declares morosely. Okay, morning. His eyes, like everyone else's, are closed. I'd say it was a beautiful day, but it isn't. Would you like to buy something? He waves a hand across an eclectic tray of fruit, all of it rotten, except for one glistening bomber fruit. Let's just have a bit of a chinwag here. So, you begin. Can you tell me a little bit about this part of Kare? The fruit vendor shrugs. Of course I can. This is where no one buys any fruit. That's why it all goes rotten. And then he goes quiet, not wanting to talk any more. Let's have a look at the bomber. How much for the bomber, you ask? 4 gold pieces, the vendor replies. They're good for, you know. You check your purse, but you don't have enough. You turn away and go back to the centre of the square. Right, now we're going to approach the monument. You approach the crowd around the monument, which is so thick it is hard to see inside. Here, says one of the creatures, whom you elbow aside. Be careful. You apologise and the creature huffs and moves away through the crowd. Clambering up the steps of the monument, you finally get to see inside, but the monument seems to be empty. There is just a circular rug that fills the floor space. The crowd murmur and whisper. What is this monument? You ask one of the creatures. Can't you tell? The creature replies. Were you born yesterday? No. The creature looks confused by your answer. The crowd are clustered around the monument as though expecting the rug inside to move. You could throw a coin inside, you can step into it, or we could step away. I mean, stepping inside does not seem like the right thing to do. Throwing a coin inside? Or step away? Oh, it's dangerous. Throw a coin inside. You toss a coin into the monument. You don't quite see what happens, but a moment later your coin is nowhere to be seen. Someone in the crowd shoves someone else who almost topples inside the monument, but just catches their balance in time. They hurry away down the steps, ashen-faced. No. Some kind of teleportation thing? I don't think that's a good idea to step into it, I don't think. From around the monument, you hear a sudden gasp. Something has happened? You cast another look at the monument and the crowd around it, but nothing seems to have changed. The creatures are still waiting for something. You walk to the centre of the square and turn about, peering into all the narrow alleyways that lead off in every direction. To the northwest, they wind between residential buildings stacked precariously on top of one another. To the south, the alleys just seem darker and rubble-strewn, and there are fewer rooftops in that direction. So you go down this way, through the arch, down the alley this way, up to an alley that way, or up an alley this way. So we need to be going up towards the red quarter side, don't we? Because that's where the scholar is. So it's either we go up this way, could be a large house, or it could be that one there. I'm going to go and risk it and say up this way. You make your way up the alley, only to find it blocked about halfway along by a colossal slick of what looks like vegetable waste. The slimy mass pours out of a large warehouse building as though someone has allowed a spell of soup making to get out of control. You approach boldly. As you get closer, you start to see that this green, slimy mess is very gently inflating and deflating. It's breathing, and very, very big. You back away once more. There is no way past the thing, whatever it is. What? Back to the square. And this way. You turn down a side alley past large houses on either side. On the right, you can just make out the roof of a mansion from which a tattered flag is flying. The pennant is blue and gold and bears a crest depicting stars shining above an open book. When the wind catches the flag and lifts it, you can briefly make out the letter in black along the edge. An L, perhaps? Lorag, perhaps? You continue towards the flag. This is definitely Lord Lorag's place, I'm telling you now. The road turns and heads roughly southeast once more, but you have been spotted. A group of young Orklings are scurrying towards you. Hurry to avoid them. You increase your stride, hoping to breeze straight past, but the gang is big enough for them to easily block the road. You are soon right in their midst. Their hands poke at you and push outwards, hoping for a donation. You have no money. We have no flipping money. Here we go. Right, what could we cast here? A goblin? No. A force field? No. An illusion of treasure. You cast the spell and piles of gold and treasure spill from the sleeve of your jacket and all over the road. The Orklings go instantly into a frenzy of collection, running over each other and beating each other up, stuffing handfuls of gems into their tunics. You take the opportunity to slip away. Where's Lorag's place? I think this is it here. Haha! Here we are. It stands alone, this building, inside its own patch of grounds, and unusually it seems to be in a state of good repair. A large L is carved on one gatepost. Lorag, perhaps? The main road continues straight past the house. Okay, so here we are. I think we found Lord Lorag's place. Could this be one of the lines to the spell that we need to open the north gate? Find out next time, because my dinner is here and ready and waiting for me, and I'm pretty peckish. So, until next time, see you soon.